Run the ball like Mitchell, or you can be like Reynolds and Skiffle. Give it a Johnston and you'll get triple. Pass it to Cleary, you know he'll run the pitch. Score points like Jaboyevich, I'm game day fit, no need a switch. Cooking up like Quickie Man's in the kitchen. Who's that on the wing? It's Sivo. Score, try and do the Guffrino. Don't get too rowdy or too keen or you'll end up like Hassan Tino. Get a 40-20 like DCE. Run the ball like hectic cheese. Support runner, that's Pappenhausen, but I still got Teddy at the SCG.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Final Siren podcast. It's great to be back for footy season, and it's great to have the NRL back returning as soon as tomorrow. As you can tell, we're very pumped about it. Davos, obviously, your team's playing in the season opener tomorrow against the Parramatta Eels. But how are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good now. It's good to have footy season back, and I'm absolutely stoked that the first game's kicking off with my team against Para. So I can't wait for the footy season. It'll be an absolute cracking one. Yeah,
definitely. I absolutely can't wait to see who we have on here tonight. Who's going to be talking in the chat, leaving us questions. In case you don't know how we work around here, if you leave comments in the live chat, we'll get to them at the end. We'll answer all your questions. If you have any questions about anything to do with footy, the cricket that's on at the moment, any sport in general, just leave it in the chat and we'll get to it at the end and we'll give our opinion on it. So, but without further ado, we'll get through to the first game. We'll be starting off with some tips. And first game we'll be tipping is Eels versus Storm. Davos, obviously, like I said before, your team is playing in the season opener against Parramatta. So first off, talk us through who you have tips for this game and what's your reasoning.
Look, obviously, all you guys know I go for the Melbourne Storm, and I love this club to death. But I'm a pretty honest person, and I don't let my bias get in the way of tips. So I'm tipping Parramatta. The reason I have Parramatta is because, look, the Storm on paper, we look very good, but we have a lot of injuries and suspensions that take away from our good players. Like, we got Sims out, we got Pappenhausen out. Our forward depth lacks a lot. So, I've got Parramatta beating us. Yeah,
definitely. And remember, the Storm at full strength, they're a team that's you don't want to mess with the Storm at full strength. Definitely. I mean, even after Cam Smith has retired, which has been a couple of years now, they still have the best spine in the competition of Ryan Pappenhausen. When fully fit, they have Ryan Pappenhausen, Cameron Munster, Jerome Hughes, and Harry Grant. Harry Grant, in my opinion, the best hooker in the game at the moment. Cameron Munster, the best 5'8" in the game at the moment. Jerome Hughes, I reckon, is a top 3, maybe at least top 4, top 5 halfback in the game at the moment. And Pappenhausen, when fit's a top 3 fullback in the comp. If not, then definitely top 4. So when fully fit, the Storm are a team you don't want to mess with. But yeah, for me personally, I'm going to have to say the Eels win this one. But it's a very tough one because the Storm, they don't lose round 1 games. Parramatta have sort of held it over their head a bit. They've been winning the last few games, Parramatta, against the Storm. Sure. So, I don't know. See, the thing is, I'm going to have to go Eels, but I reckon it'll be very close. I reckon it'll be closer than people expect.
I don't blame you for going Eels, to be honest. That's why I'm going Para, because, you got to be realistic. So,
yeah, definitely. And it's just one of those things. I wouldn't mind, I don't really like either team, and Davos knows this. I mean, I probably prefer the Storm out of both. I sort of want to see the Storm's round 1 streak broken, but at the same time, I want to see how far they can keep it going. So I don't know. It's a tough one for me. I personally can't wait tomorrow. And in case you didn't know, we're going to be trying to do a live commentary of that tomorrow. So make sure that if you are in the chat at the moment, you try and book that in. We're not 100% sure at the moment, but if we can get most of us on, we'll try and do a live commentary tomorrow of it and try and get video up on the screen. If we can't figure that out, we'll just put something out in the story saying we can't. But I also have a tipping comp announcement to say at the end. So make sure you stick around for the tipping comp announcement. I'll be giving the code. I'll be putting it on our Instagram. You can join the tipping comp. We may have a cash prize, money prize at the end anyway. But stick around for that. We'll move on to the second game. Warriors versus Knights. This is in New Zealand. I mean, I know they played a few games in New Zealand at the end of last year, but it's nice to have footy back in New Zealand. But what's your sort of thoughts on this game?
See, this game is probably one of the hardest games to tip because both of these teams have the capabilities to make the top 8, but then on their worst day they can be just dreadful. Like both teams' defense is absolutely atrocious. But I'm only going to tip the Warriors because it's in New Zealand. It's going to be a good game, I feel. I mean, for me, it's the battle of the forward packs. You got the likes of, AF, Anthony Blake, Toe Harris, Bunty Foa, versus Daniel Saifidi, Jacob Saifidi, Adam Elliott. It'll be a good battle, but I'm only going the Warriors because it's in New Zealand. But it'll be a good game.
Yeah, definitely. I've got the Warriors comfortably here. I don't think it'll be too close. But anyone who says it's close, I mean, I don't really blame you. Neither teams did too well last year, and I think I don't know. I'm quite high on the Warriors doing well this year. I think it'll be good to see the Warriors hopefully do well. Yeah, so for me, I'm going to tip the Warriors. I reckon Warriors 13 plus. By the way, we will go through that. We'll go back to Eels versus Storm. I have Eels 1-12. I'm not sure about Davos though.
Yeah, I've got Eels 1-12.
And for this game, you have.
I've got Warriors 1-12.
I'm going to go Warriors 13 plus, but I think it won't be too much over 13 plus. I think it'll be 14.
Yeah,
I think 14-point win for the Warriors, in my opinion. But yeah, so make sure. By the way, make sure if you're watching to like the video. It does boost us up a little bit. Sort of provides it a bit more over YouTube. And thank you for the current viewer we have in the chat. Panthers versus Broncos. This will be a good game, I reckon. A lot of people, I think, are sort of saying, "Oh yeah, Panthers will win 13 plus." I think the people who are saying that are really underestimating how sort of unsettled Nathan Cleary looked without Appy Coruscant hooker in the Penrith team. So that being said, for me, I'm going to go a bit of a bold one here. I'm going to go the Broncos 1-12. It's a bit biased, definitely not. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go the Broncos 1-12. If anyone has Panthers 13 plus, I don't blame you, really. Yeah, it is what it is. But Broncos 1-12 is my bet. Davos, what about you?
Yo, what? I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Broncos 1-12. I'm going to tip an upset. There's always an upset in any round. And look, to be honest, I feel like the Panthers they'll still be dominant, but they won't be as dominant. You could see it even in the World Challenge game that the Panthers looked unsettled without Coruscant, and Cleary and Luai didn't play as well because they like to play off the back of him. And look, the Broncos have improved heaps. I'm really excited to see Selwyn Cobbo at fullback, and excited to see how young Ezra Mam goes and playing off that forward pack of theirs. So yeah, I'm going to tip an upset.
Yeah, and you're fair in doing so. By the way, for anyone who's here in the live chat at the moment, I've posted the NRL tipping comp code. So for that, you will need the NRL tipping app. All you do is you press on the NRL tipping app. You go at the bottom, locate where it says comps. You press on that, press join comp. You press that code. We'll put the code in. It should come up. It's a private comp, so you can only join with the code. Make sure you get onto that. I'll post it on the Instagram story as well. But yeah, so for this game, Davos and I are both agreeing in having Broncos 1-12 for the upset, but I don't think it'll be anywhere near 12. I think I had Broncos by 8. I think that was my prediction in one of the chats. But yeah, so I'm going to go Broncos by 8. But yeah, we'll go Broncos 1-12 in general. By the way, at the end, I will be reading out Faraz's tips for each game. But we'll save that once we've said all our tips here. Seagulls versus Bulldogs. So this is the first game on the Saturday. I feel like this will actually be a hard game to tip. At first, I'll let you go through it first because I want to say what I've said after.
This is a very, very hard game to tip. I'm going to go Manly. I'm going to go Manly 1-12 only because it's at Brookvale and Tom Trbojevic is fit and healthy. If he wasn't playing round one, I probably would have tipped the Bulldogs. But look, I think the Seagulls will be mid, whereas I feel like they'll jag a couple of games there and then. And it'll be interesting to see this game. But I will not be surprised at all if the Dogs win. So,
yeah, definitely. For me, I've gone the same route. I've gone Seagulls 1-12. I think I had Bulldogs the whole preseason. If you'd asked me, I would have said Bulldogs 13 plus. I'm not even thinking about after seeing trial form. I know the trials are just trials, but like it's a very overused saying when people say trials are just trials. It's the first time seeing the team play for the year. You get to see how well they gel together. Wasn't that impressed by the Dogs. I still think it'd only be 1-12 to Manly. I think Dogs will have a slow start. Manly will start pretty fast. I reckon at halftime it'll be Manly like 20-6 or something, and I think the full-time score will be like Manly 24 to like 18, 24 to 20.
yeah.
So I think Dogs will come home in the end strong, but I think Manly will get that fast enough start to sort of not worry about the Dogs come back at the end. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Dogs need to still find a genuine halfback and a genuine fullback. I think that's the only two things that are holding them back. Manly, look, they've made some solid signings like Kalmar, and I'm excited to see how like young Cooler and Trbojevic go. But for me, it's all about Tom Trbojevic. If Turbo plays a full season, Manly can easily make the 8. If he doesn't play a full season, then they're in the shits. So
Yeah.
I've gone the Seagulls because I have a feeling that Turbo will dominate.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one thing I did want to talk about before we move on, this isn't sort of tipping related, but for the Doggies, they have placed Hayes Perham at fullback, and they've put Jake Averillo out in the centres. I want to get your thoughts on that because I was a big fan of Jake Averillo last season and what he did for the Doggies attack when he was at fullback. But,
I'm a very big Jake
thoughts.
Averillo fan. And I think he should be playing fullback. Hayes Perham, I don't know, like he's average, but he's not the greatest. Averillo for me, he adds so much attacking flair to that Doggies team when he's playing at fullback. I'm surprised, but I'm equally excited to see him playing the centers because I know that he can do a lot of damage and he'll be around at the Dogs for many years to come. So, yeah.
Definitely. So for me, I think Perham, he looks like a good young fullback, which is fair for the Dogs to place him there. I just don't know. Averillo last season at fullback was great. He really unlocked the attacking side of the Dogs. His defense was actually pretty good as well at fullback. For a fullback, he does defend pretty well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure why the Bulldogs have gone that way with Hayes Perham, but time will tell. Hayes Perham could prove me wrong. He could get like 100 fantasy points or something, score like 10 tries in his NRL debut. Oh, I think it's his NRL debut. Maybe not, but we'll have to see. But Cowboys versus Raiders, this is the second game on the Saturday. For me, I think this is pretty stock standard stuff.
Yeah,
I'm going to go Cowboys.
This is easy.
Cowboys in Townsville, so in front of the home crowd, a team that placed top 4 last year for versus a team that scraped into the 8, who this year I don't think will do as well. For me, it's Cowboys 13 plus.
I could not agree with you more. For me, playing the Cowboys in North Queensland is like playing Penrith in Penrith. Like you can't even beat them. Like the Storm went up there last year and the Cowboys absolutely flogged them. Like this Cowboys team, if you had told me 2 years ago the Cowboys would be coming third with Todd Payton as coach in making a prelim, I would have been like, what are you smoking? Like, seriously, like this is such a big turnaround. And I'm so happy for the Cowboys because Cowboys are one of my favorite teams. And yeah, I can't see any world of the Raiders getting close here.
Yeah, definitely. For me, Yeah, it's just like I said before, it's pretty stock standard. Cowboys 13 plus for me. They're just. I don't
This
really see any weakness in the Cowboys this year, which is why when we did
I
our
enjoy them.
ladder predictions, I had Cowboys up in first place for me
Yeah, I
because
had him. I think sixth or fifth.
I think for me it's just I guess their one weakness is playing outside of Queensland. Probably that's probably their
Yeah,
main weakness, but I feel like they could fix that up this year. But when
yeah,
they're in Townsville, I just like they've got Scott Drinkwater, who last season was a top 5 fullback. Valentine Holmes
yeah,
and Petahiku, who are easily a top 2 center pairing.
yeah.
Probably for me, probably first place on their day. They are first place. They got Murray Taulagi and Kyle Felt on the wings, which is a great wing pairing. They've got
Mm.
a great forward pack: McLean, Cotter. I think they have Griffin Name on the bench.
The
Taumalolo,
most underrated hooker in the comp.
Reese Robson, brilliant hooker. Jeremiah Nanai, they've got in there. They've got Helam Lukey back this year. I think they have Luciano Leilua. I'm not sure. I feel like he was stood down, but they have
Mm.
got a picture of him in the new Cowboys jersey. So I think he will be back eventually. Um,
Yeah,
so they've got a great team, and obviously can't forget the halves of Chad Townsend and Tom Dearden,
yeah.
and
They
a
were
good bench as well.
fantastic.
They signed back James Tarmo this year, which I was really happy with that signing. I've always wanted to see him back at the Cowboys.
Mm.
For me, Cowboys, they don't have many sort of blemishes, and I think Cowboys fans are in for a good year this year.
For
I feel like
sure.
they could go pretty far in finals. But
Mm.
the Saturday night, I guess the main event on that Saturday, Sharks versus Rabbitohs. Now, if Nico Hines was healthy, this would be a great game for me. That being said, he's not. I've got Rabbitohs 13 plus.
I agree with you. Rabbitohs 13 plus. Look, if Nico Hines was playing, I probably would have been 50-50, but I'm not just tipping the Rabbitohs because Nico Hines is out. The Rabbitohs will actually be a force this year. Like, their four pack is outstanding. Cody Walker and Lockie Elise in the half. Elise is only going to get better. And a team with Latrell Mitchell, like, you saw what Latrell Mitchell did when he got back. Like, he changed that Rabbitohs team. Like, this Rabbitohs team, that there's a reason I've got them pinned in my top 3, and they're going to be a force.
Also, a quick mention to Vernon Snake in the chat. Welcome back, mate. Good to see you here. I think we lost you at the end of last year when we started doing BBL content, but it's good to see you back back for the NRL content. It's good to see you in the chat. He says no Hines, South's easy. Definitely agree. I think like you said, Davos, even if they had Hines, for me it would have been a bit of a toss up. But the scary thing about South Sydney this year, you look at where they finished last year. I think it was 7th overall.
Yeah, 7th.
Played
Yeah.
the Roosters in that elimination final. So I'm pretty sure they flogged them. They beat them 13
Yeah, they
plus.
flogged the Roosters by like 30.
Then the next week went to a core. Went to Allianz. I think it was again. Flogged the Sharks, and
Yeah.
then the next week went. I don't think it was Penrith Stadium, but I think it might have been a core again. But we're 12-0 up against the eventual reigning premiers.
Mm.
They're just, I don't know.
They're
South Sydney,
scary.
if they had Latrell Mitchell the whole of last year, they finished 7th and they didn't even have him for most of last year. If they had him the whole year, they were definitely top 4 easily.
Mm. For sure.
So it's a weird thing to think about. But yeah, for me, South Sydney, they'll be up in the top 3, I reckon, possibly top 2. I think I had them or Roosters second. But either way, I don't think there'll be too much between them this year. So yeah, for me, Rabbitohs win this 13 plus, and they're a scary team this year. Can't wait to see what they do. Dolphins versus Roosters. Roosters is there a 50 plus option?
Yeah,
My
I
goodness.
think. Yeah, this is going to get ugly.
Where do you begin here? Tessie News matched up against Daniel Tupou. Tupou's going to have a field day.
Yeah.
the Dolphins, they've named their team, and I don't agree with many of the choices at all. Like, for one thing, they have Mark Nichols on the bench and Jared Wallace starting with Jesse. I had Mark Nichols and Jesse Bromwich starting
Same.
in my front row.
Special mention to Isaiah Katoa. Congratulations on making his debut. He's going to be a terrific young player.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably one of the positives. So yeah, congratulations to Isaiah Katoa. Very well played, I guess, to get himself a spot in that Dolphins starting 17. And but I guess the main thing is I can't wait to see a team that I can't wait to see an NRL round that doesn't have Anthony Milford playing. Looking forward to that. But no, I absolutely love Milford whenever he's on. I loved him at the Broncos, but he does. I agree. Wayne Bennett released a statement. We'll talk to press about something. He was saying how Milford knows how to get back into the team if he wants to, and he needs to pick up his game in reserve grade to make it back into the team, which I agree with. Milford, he's lazy. Ever since 2015, probably ever since, I reckon, probably since 2017. Yeah, he hasn't really
got that big contract. He's just gone.
So for me, Milford, I don't really see him cracking it back into the team this year. I reckon maybe if Katoa shows a few signs of just being a bit too young, they might bring him back in, but I think they'll regret it. But yeah, for me, Roosters 50 plus if that's an option. I honestly reckon if I had to guess a score, I reckon just because it's the first game of the season, I reckon it's going to be like Roosters 44 to like 6 or something. I reckon it'll be the first major flogging of the season. But Roosters 30 plus, I reckon, is a pretty safe bet here if you wanted to put a tip on it. But what about you? What's your tip for this?
The easiest tip of the round, Roosters 30 plus. Just, yeah. This Roosters team, if they stay healthy, they are the most dominant team. I have them first. I have them first. For me, just the Roosters, all they need to do is stay healthy. If they stay healthy, they're winning the comp.
Definitely. See, the thing about the Roosters this year, the thing about the Roosters in round one specifically, last year, I don't want to put any like sort of hoodoo crap over the Roosters. Last year they played the Knights in round one and ended up being flogged by the Knights.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the Knights team that was fielded last year wasn't really much better than the Dolphins team this year.
I just can't see it happening against the Dolphins, to be honest. I
can't see it happening either. But if it does happen, do I bring back
the Dolphins? The Dolphins wouldn't even beat a C team Cowboys team.
That's it. I'm bringing back the old special. If the Dolphins beat the Roosters, I will jump off a cliff. I will legitimately jump off a cliff. That's how confident I am. But I probably won't actually jump off a cliff. Please, no one clip that. But my point is, that's how unlikely it is it will happen. I think Roosters 13 plus any day of the week. I swear, Roosters 13 plus on like Sportsbet or something will probably only be paying $1.01 at this point. That's how likely it is to happen. But that is what it is. We'll move on to the last game, Tigers versus Titans. This was a bit of a hard one to tip, actually. You start us off with this one. What's your tip for it?
Very hard to tip. I'm going to go... Yeah, I've changed this one a lot of times, but I'm actually going to tip the Titans.
Ooh.
I think that the Tigers, yes, they have improved, but their backline is absolutely atrocious. Their halves, Adam Dewey's coming back from a long-term injury. Luke Brooks, we all know how much pressure he's under, and I believe, and I know that you agree with me, that he is a better 5'8" than he is a halfback. And the Titans have improved. Like they've signed Kieran Foran, who I think is going to be good next to Tanner Boyd, who I think will improve heaps. AJ Brimson at fullback, who is a terrific fullback, and their forward pack is really good. Like you got Tino, you got Fotuaika, you got Bo Former. Like it's a good forward pack. And this Tigers team, like, yes, you're playing at Leichhardt, and yes, you've signed all these good players like Papali'i, Coruscant, but there's no point having a good forward pack if your halves aren't gonna play on the back of it. So, and plus, Fawn and Boyd have proved to me that they can match it with the best. So that's why I've tipped the Titans. But only 1 to 12, though.
Yeah. Here's the thing. For me, I think Luke Brooks is going to have a big year this year. I reckon he's going to play really good this year.
I want him to.
One of the biggest mistakes, I reckon, of the Tigers last year was letting go of Jackson Hastings.
I could not agree more.
He brought life to that team, and he did play very well for them. And I've said this a few times, and I'm going to stand by it. Some people are saying letting go of Hastings was the right idea, and other people are saying we should have let go of Luke Brooks. I see no one saying we should have let go of Adam Dewey.
I would have let go of Adam Dewey.
He thinks he's bigger than the club to start off with.
I agree.
He's only just recently re-signed on a 1-year deal. Watch him play. I think isn't that for next season. Watch him play throughout this year. Watch it get to next season, and he'll ask for a release at the end of this year or the beginning of next season. I'm willing to bet it because I just don't think he's a club player. I originally liked him a lot. I thought he was a very good player, but yeah, I don't know. He doesn't seem to be team orientated.
I don't like Dewey.
I used to like him a lot. Don't like him anymore. And but hopefully he can fix up his issue. He's not a $1 million player. I don't care what he says. For me, maximum I'm paying for him is $700K, and that is stretching it, and that's with the new salary caps. I don't know. Not a big fan of Adam Dewey anymore. But anyway, for the tips, I've got Tigers 1 to 12. I reckon it'll be a very close game through most of it. I think the Tigers will pull away at the end. I can't wait to see how Api Coruscant does, how much he improves Luke Brooks and Dewey. Because keep in mind, the point I made about Cleary before could be the same point I made about pretty much the same point I'm making about Luke Brooks here, is that Nathan Cleary looked a much better halfback when Api Coruscant was his number 9, and that could be the same for Luke Brooks. He could return to 2018 form with a genuine 9 and a genuine forward pack there. But the main worry for me is the Tigers' backline. Their 1 through 7 isn't the strongest. Dane Laurie he's a decent fullback, but he needs improvement. I'm not big on Adam Dewey as a 5'8". Luke Brooks needs to obviously have a good season this season. I do like Nofaluma and Junior Tupou. I think should be their wingers. I'm not sure if that's what they ended up going with, which actually makes me think I'm not too sure. I've checked the Tigers NRL team list this week. I'll quickly check that now. But my main point is, I think their 1 through to 5 especially is not very strong. So the 1 through to 5 they've gone with is Laurie, Nofaluma, Naden, Talau, Staines. Me personally, I would have been going Junior Tupou over Nofaluma. I would have went Junior Tupou and Charlie Staines on the wings with Talau and Naden in the centres, Laurie fullback. But they've chosen, obviously, the experienced David Nofaluma. I think he's a bit past it now. I reckon when he played for the Storm, he looked good. I reckon for Tigers last year, he didn't look very good. So, yeah. For me, I love their forward pack, though. Stefano Utoikamanu, Coruscant, Clemmer, Papali'i, Blore, and Ofahengawi. And you swap out Blore for Bateman when he's ready again. And then obviously on the bench, they've got Twal, Bole, and they put Asu Kepa Owa in at the 17, even though he's a centre wing. And Simkin obviously is the secondary hooker. I don't know. Yeah, for me, though, I'm going to go Tigers 1 to 12, but it wouldn't surprise me if Titans get the upset here. It wouldn't be too surprising. But we'll quickly go to some news, and then we'll go through and reply to some comments and talk about the tipping comp. So the first bit of news, Thomas Flegler and Herbie Farnworth are departing the Broncos at the end of 2023 to join the Dolphins. Fuck! I am so pissed off about this. It hurts me to know it. Herbie Farnworth is one of my favorite players. Thomas Flegler, I couldn't care less, honestly. At the moment, I couldn't care less. I get that he's a state of origin. He's played for Queensland at forward. I get he's a really good player, but Herbie Farnworth was the one I was mainly pissed off about. The good news is the Broncos' depth in those areas are very good. We have good depth in the forwards. We have really good depth in the centre areas. I mean, Jesse Arthurson, Dean Mariner, Deloise Hoyter, Jordan Pereira could possibly go wing and Selwyn Cobbett to centre. That's how much depth we have. We have so much depth for our back five that we could pretty much field a second team for it. But it's disappointing, definitely. But it was always going to happen. Farmworth to the Dolphins was always going to happen, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't think that was what was going to happen. But yeah, I'll let you touch on it first.
Yeah, I mean, I love how the Dolphins said they wouldn't poach from Queensland teams, and then they take 2 players from the Broncos. Wow. Yeah, look, Tom Flegler, obviously a huge loss. He's a very underrated player. I think he provides a lot of impact. Herbie Farnworth is the biggest loss, though. I mean, he is so underrated. It's not funny. I personally think he's better than Staggs. He's just so good in attack and defense, and was a big reason. Like, if he didn't get injured, he would probably be in contention for center of the year the way he was playing. But yeah, big loss. But I have confidence that Dean Mariner and who's going to replace Flegler? You reckon probably
Xavier Willison, Ben Kikora,
Wilson.
Logan Bayless Brow, all of them are great options.
I'm very confident the Broncos have the very good depth to replace it. So
yeah. So for me, like I said before, it is disappointing, but we have the depth to replace it. And but I'm looking forward to seeing how they go at the Dolphins. Hopefully not too well, because I don't want to see them thriving at the Dolphins. But oh well. Thank you to the 4 people in the chat at the moment. Make sure to put some questions in. We'll get to them at the end. Victor Radley has re-signed with the Roosters until the end of 2027, and Egan Butcher until the end of 2025. These are good re-signings for me. I think the Roosters are on the right track. Victor Radley, only young, one of the best looks in the game when he's not off the field. And Egan Butcher, I haven't seen too much of him. Nat Butcher is probably the better player at the moment, but he's slightly older. Egan Butcher looks good. He looks like he's going to be a solid player for the Roosters. Yeah. I think he always has a bench spot. So, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how they go. Like Victor Radley, obviously, you always know what you're going to expect from Victor Radley.
Yeah, look, I agree. They're quality re-signings, and Victor the Inflictor. I mean, most games you see him with blood down his face, but that's because he puts in the work, does all the hard work, and plays a very selfless role for the benefit of the team. Egan Butcher, I haven't seen much of him, but he's going to be a good player from what I have seen from him. So yeah, quality re-signings from the Roosters.
Yeah, definitely. Luke Thompson possibly out for the season with a foot injury. How does this affect the Bulldogs, do you reckon?
I think it affects them in a big way because Luke Thompson is like the leader of their forward pack. You know, he does all the hard work and basically tells his forwards to follow with him. And look, I feel for Luke Thompson. He's a very good player. I think he's in the last year of his contract, so he would have wanted to prove himself to get a good contract. But yeah, it's a big loss, and the Dogs will have to fill a big hole up front. So yeah,
for me, if you look at because obviously, like we said in the last one, Tavita Pangai Jr. is out for the first 4 weeks or something. If you add Luke Thompson and Tavita Pangai Jr. to the forward pack the Dogs already have, then at full strength, the Dogs would look something like Max King, Reid Marnie, Ryan Sutton, Viliami Kikau, Raymond Faitala Mariner, Far Manu Brown, Tavita Pangai Jr., Luke Thompson. Then they've got Franklin Pele, Corey Waddell, Jacob Preston. They've got so many good young forwards. It's sad to see him go down. Apparently, they're hopeful that he can just sort of deal with it throughout the season and then have surgery later on the season, because apparently surgery rules him out for the rest of the season. If he heals, if he goes through with it and just tries to play, I think he could be back around 8. I think that was as soon as he can be back. So hopefully for his sake, he is able to play this season. But if not, wish him the best sort of recovery, and see him when he gets back into one of the starting Bulldogs prop spots. Hopefully, Nico Hines is set to miss at least the first month of the 2023 season. Pretty disappointing. Obviously, the Dally M medalist last year. Very exciting player. You'd obviously want to see him play most of the time, unless it's against your team, because that's how good of a player he is. He can really just change the momentum of the game. What's your thoughts on this? I'm personally shattered for him.
I'm very shattered for Nico Hines. I have a soft spot for Nico. He's obviously played at the Storm, did a fantastic job there, and I completely supported his decision to leave and go to the Sharks. And what a season he had, winning the Dally M medal last year, very well deserved. It sucks, but I think Braden Trindle has a big job now. He needs to fill in the shoes, and he needs to allow Matt Moreland to run the ball. And I think Will Kennedy also needs to step up, because he's very consistent, but he needs to take that next step, I reckon.
Yeah, we'll get to comments at the end, so just leave any questions you have. We've only got 2 more news segment pieces, and then we'll get through to the questions. Dylan Napa has signed back with the Roosters New South Wales Cup side. He was seen training, I think, with Joey Manu, and may have been Victor Radley. I'm not too sure. Might have been Matt Lodge, actually. But yeah, what do you make of this, Davos? Dylan Napa back at the Roosters.
Oh yeah, well, at least he's with the New South Wales Cup side, so he won't be getting suspended and making the Roosters play bloody fines. But yeah, he's a good player, but I think he's a bit past it now, and he's just gets into trouble and shit. But he's a good player when he doesn't do all that dumb stuff. But yeah,
only time I ever liked him is when he played for Queensland. That's the only time. I haven't really cared about him any other time. The Broncos, this is the last one. The Broncos are reportedly interested in signing David Fifita. Now, this comes after the loss of Thomas Flegler and Herbie Farnworth. They both left. I think the Broncos have $1.5 million spare now. I think if I'm the Broncos, I'm looking at signing David Fifita for $800K or less. If he doesn't want to join for $800K or less, maybe $850 max. That's only because the salary caps have increased. If we're talking about last year's salary caps, I'd only be offering $750 or less. But $850 or less, maybe not even $900. $850 or less for David Fifita if I'm the Broncos here. And if he signs on, it's going to be such a tough decision. You'd have to put him at the right second row spot and move Ricky to the bench probably. Or I could probably see, if that happens, I could probably see Ricky moving on to. I reckon if we did sign David Fifita, Ricky would move to the Warriors. I reckon that'd be my bold pick, because obviously he's from New Zealand. But yeah, what's your thoughts on this, Davos? I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, look, obviously Dave Fifita, we all know that when he's on, he's the best back rower in the comp. But when he's not on, he just takes money from people. But it's just the bloke has so much talent, and I want him to realize that. And he needs to be at a club where they have a good halfback that'll give him early ball and allow him to do damage. Look, in my opinion, I think he should be signing with the Raiders. Imagine him next to Jamal Fogarty or Jack Whiten. But look, I'm excited to see Dave Fifita play this year next to Tanner Boyd, because those two grew up playing footy together and know each other's game, and their chemistry is very good. I personally don't see him signing with the Broncos, because the Broncos, look, Capewell is one of the most consistent back rowers. Ricky had a down year, but I feel like he'll bounce back. And you got like Picora, you got Willison. There's like a lot of good young back rowers that the Broncos need to develop, I reckon, from within. So I personally don't think the Broncos should go after Fifita.
If I'm the Broncos, this is what I'm doing. I'm saying, I'm calling up Fifita. I'm saying, when do you need an offer put in by? Like, what's the date you need the offer in by? Otherwise, you're not going to take it. And then, for instance, if he says, "Oh yeah, I'll give you until the end of May to make your offer before I consider my choices," then I would be seeing how Jordan Ricky goes for those games, if by May Jordan Ricky is still struggling, I'd get David Fafita in, and then I'd possibly play a Ricky on the bench if he's willing to do it. He can come off the bench, play like a sort of roaming lock. Possibly. Because I believe the only other option is I think you could play him on the bench for 1 year until Kurt Capewell's off contracts. But even then, Kurt Capewell's only like turning 30 this year, so he's still got a couple of years left in him. But yeah, it really depends. I guess see how they're playing. For me, I want David Fafita back, but if it comes at the expense of like losing Capewell or losing Ricky, I'm not too sure it's the right idea, especially if we're paying him like $900K or something. I don't want him back for that much. He's a good second rower. He's not that good. He's not that good all the time. But we'll quickly go through to a Q&A segment. Any questions you have, put them into the chat right now. We only have a few here today, so we'll get through it pretty quickly. Vernon Snake says, NRL is back, lads. Thank you, Vernon. Good to have you back in the chat. No Hines South's easy, like we said earlier. Good one there. Roosters will pump Dolphins. We both agree so. Davos was saying earlier, they don't really stand a chance, do they? To be fair, Allen and Paula edge could be a bit lower. I think that's where the Dolphins will get any points from, the edge that Allen and Paula have. Allen, I think, is actually a pretty reasonable defender, except for when he was at fullback because he got his ankles broke by Jermaine Ozarko. But what's your take on this?
Yeah, look, Corey Allen in that 2020 season at the back end when he was playing fullback for Souths, he was amazing. And people tend to forget that this bloke played Origin in a Game 3 decider. I get it was 3 years ago, but this bloke came in and actually did a good job. Like, he wasn't the greatest, but he wasn't that bad. But look, he just went to the Bulldogs. He was very injury prone there, and he didn't really get any chance to prove himself, really. Look, I hope Corey Allen proves himself because I believe Corey Allen has tons of potential. Paulo, he's a good player, but I don't rate him too highly. So, that's where I reckon the Dolphins will get points.
Well, I still remember back to, I think it was the 2020 season. Corey Allen got picked for Origin at fullback in Game 3 for Queensland. He did a pretty good job. That year in finals, because I think in 2020 the State of Origin obviously got played in November. But that year in finals for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, when he was there, Latrell Mitchell was injured, or actually no, he might have been suspended. Corey Allen came in, did a good job at fullback while he was there. So for me, Corey Allen, I reckon it's a good pickup for the Roosters. I'm keen to see how he goes at centre. See, Sharksy says TPJ playing now instead. Yeah, mate, I think this was when I was reading out the team list. For me, if Tavita Pangai Jr. and Thompson were both fit, I'd have Thompson at 8, Reid Marnie 9, Thompson at 8, Reid Marnie 9, Max King at 10, Kia 11, Faitala Mariner 12, Tavita Pangai Jr. 13. Then on the bench, I'd probably have like Josh Reynolds 14, I'd have Franklin Pele 15, I'd have probably Ryan Sutton 16, and then Preston 17 or Waddell 17, something like that, because Tavita Pangai Jr., obviously, when he's back fit, you can't leave him out. Thompson, if he was fit, you couldn't leave him out. But yeah, it's going to be good to see the Dogs when they're fully fit. I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like and how they play. Fafita should say with Titans, Broncos have enough forwards. That's an option for him as well. I honestly think if Titans lost him, they wouldn't miss him too much. They've got some quality young forwards coming up. Klesy Haas, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his last name. It might be Clace. I'm not sure.
I think it's Klesy Haas.
Yeah, but Klesy Haas, he's a good young talent. I believe he's a second rower. Or I think he can play second rower and centre. I think they've got Isaac Fasu Malawi. He can play second row, I believe, and centre again. So they have some good quality young forwards coming up, the Titans. So I don't think either Titans or Broncos would miss Fafita too much. And same with Raiders. I feel like Raiders have Whitehead and Hudson Young. I don't think they need him too much, but he would be a good pickup no matter which team he goes to. And ain't no way you prefer Ricky over Fafita. I think what Davos meant by that. Actually, no, Davos, I'll give you a chance to explain what you meant.
So I agree that I prefer Fafita over Ricky. That's what I agree with. However, if the Broncos sign Fafita, that's going to take up a lot of salary, and I'm pretty sure the Broncos have like 1.2 million in salary cap. So Fafita's on around 700K, right? You sign Fafita. Think about it. Adam Reynolds will retire. You need someone to replace. You need a long-term pro. Look, I get we got Jock Madden, but Broncos need to spend money, and they can't just spend money on one player. I completely agree with the fact that Fafita is 100 times better than Ricky, but people need to understand that Ricky's in like his third season. Like most players actually do have second year blues, so it's not like Ricky's in like his sixth season and he's playing shit. That's where I come from. That's how I see it.
I understand what you meant. And for me, if we could get Fafita on 700K, I would honestly take that in a heartbeat, because I think we have 1.5 million cap space free. But the difference is, I would probably prefer to keep Ricky over Fafita, and the reasoning would be Ricky wouldn't be asking for like one point something mil. I feel like Fafita, if he was going to come back to the Broncos, he'd go, yeah, give me 1.1 mil a season or something like that, or he might go, give me 900K a season, I'll come back. For me, 800K is the max I'm paying for him. Anything more than that, he can fuck off to the Raiders or stay at the Titans. I don't really care. He left us once. He'll probably do it again if money comes calling. But that's all the questions we have. Before we end off, anyone who's still watching, the NRL tipping comp code 7ZCYXSR5. It's also in the comment section. Make sure you join in to the NRL tipping comp. We'll try and fit as many people as we can in there. We might have a little money prize at the end of the season for the person who has the most correct tips. But yeah, and we'll make sure this time, because last time when we did the BBL tipping comp, Faraz ended up winning it. This time we'll make sure there's only one of us in it, which will be myself. And for that tipping comp, if I place first, I won't be claiming the prize. It'll be the next person in line. So make sure you join up to that one. I'll post it on the Instagram story. And but thank you everyone for tonight. It's been a great night. We've had quite a few viewers filtering in and out. This has been the NRL Round 1 preview for the 2023 season, and we'll see you tomorrow definitely for a game preview of Storm vs Eels, possibly for a commentary. Stay looked out on the Instagram. The Instagram is @thefinalsiren podcast. I'll keep you updated on what we're doing tomorrow there. But until then, this has been Davos and myself. So happy you all joined us tonight, and we'll see you in the next one.